This week on New to You, A Sure Thing, Part 1, Sure Thing, a play. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the New to You Show. I'm one of your hosts, John Holt. With me this week,
one of your other hosts, Keith Vincent, and
your other host, Julian Cage, and special guest this week, no one.
That's right.
Well, our guest this week was not a sure thing.
No.
We can say that.
No, we had a good guest, but they died, so this is our sad episode.
Yep. And they said, son,
counting on you, Holt, to make the podcast move along.
This one's for you, Patches.
Yeah. Yep. And he said, yep. So, we are a media recommendation review podcast where we recommend that you review the media that we check out.
That's exactly how it...
Including this podcast on iTunes. Hello.
Hey.
Way to get meta.
All right. So, Jules, you're going to be up first. Why don't we roll into your pick?
Okay.
Excuse me, is this chair taken?
Excuse me?
Is this taken?
Oh, yes it is.
Oh, sorry.
Sure thing.
Excuse me, is this chair taken?
Excuse me?
Is this taken?
No, but I'm expecting somebody in a minute.
Oh, thanks anyway.
Sure thing.
Excuse me, is this chair taken?
No, but I'm expecting somebody very shortly.
So, my pick is a one-act play by David Ives called Sure Thing. And the reason I picked it is because the theme is a sure thing, and it's called Sure Thing. So I thought of it when I saw the theme.
Like a match made in heaven.
Yeah. And I did resist.
And you didn't pick the theme.
No, I didn't pick the theme.
You didn't say, hey, there's this play I like. I should pick the name of the play as the theme. And then there I could just choose that to talk about.
And ironically, I found this because I was like, no, I can't just pick the Sure Thing, the movie with John Cusack from the 80s, because that would be too on the nose. So instead, I picked the play, Sure Thing. I think
you
also
diverted a little and done the right stuff.
It wasn't too on the nose because it doesn't have a sure thing. It's just Sure Thing.
That's true. Although John seems to think maybe it does, so I don't know. Anyway, so I'll talk about Sure Thing, the one-act play by David Ives. It was released on its own. It's also part of a grouping of 6 one-act plays called All in the Timing, also by David Ives. So it's just a series, because he's kind of known for comedic short plays. That's kind of his preferred. So this one in particular is about 2 characters, Betty and Bill. So it's kind of boy meets girl at a coffee shop, but the kind of interesting thing about it is you kind of see the evening, like their interactions, constantly reset by a ringing bell. So it's like, and essentially it's kind of like when you have an interaction with a stranger or you're trying to hit on someone, things can go wrong, and it's kind of like things go wrong, and then it keeps resets until he says the right thing. So it's sort of like Groundhog Day-ish.
Move forward. It's like a video game, too.
Yeah,
in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's really fun. It's got a lot of energy, and tons of like fun little one-liners. I mean, it's not the most hilarious thing ever, and I think it could use an update maybe, just because some of the references are a little outdated, or let's say sexual politics are a little old-fashioned maybe. But it was originally produced in 1988, and then it was published in 94, so that's kind of the time zone. And then it was really popular when it came out, and it was actually one of the most performed plays in the country after Shakespeare between 95 and 96. Wow. So it kind of, I think part of it is that it's because it's a one-act play, it only requires 2 actors, very minimal setup, and it's playful, I think, and there's a lot of room for interpretation. I think it kind of caught on, and so when I was looking for examples of it on YouTube, there were lots and lots and lots and lots of versions, and a lot of them are by high schools and things like that. And then when I was mentioning that was my pick to my girlfriend Zoya, she was like, "Oh, I directed that play when I was in high school," because she was a theater brat in high school. And the interesting twist that they had on her performance is that instead of having one, so normally it's just one couple, like 2 people, and they constantly reset and act out. And they're also playing not just each other, but also different versions of the character when they go through the progressions. Like, like the guy will be like kind of a party guy or an asshole or an intellectual, and it's sort of like he keeps morphing until he becomes the person that she will like, and vice versa.
Until they're compatible on both sides.
Exactly,
yeah.
And then they fall in love, because they're super perfectly compatible at the end. Spoilers.
To the
And-
point too, where like they will say a line of dialogue, like character A, the guy will say a line of dialogue, and then in a subsequent scene, character B will repeat back that dialogue, but like it becomes a positive or like with a slight twist, so that like they aren't going to hit another negative reaction and get dinged.
Yeah, and there's lots of like, it's really like playful language, and it's all about words. It's all about like, and what's fun too is to see the same exact words recontextualized, because then, so it'll start out like, for example, there's a long section where they're talking about Faulkner because she's reading a Faulkner book, and so there's one version where he just goes on a long, like not rant, but like a long exposition about how much he loves Faulkner, and then it kind of falls flat because he's sort of hogging the scenery, and then it dings and it repeats, but then it's like he says half the line, she says the other half of the line because she's filling in because she's equally enthusiastic. So it's really
but he had to give her the breathing room to do that.
exactly, or it's like their passion had to match,
Right.
but it's really fun to see that as well, just the exact same lines of dialogue but remixed, or not remixed, but like recontextualized, and suddenly it works, whereas it didn't a second ago. The twist that my girlfriend, when she directed, is they actually had it played by two different couples. And so when the bell would ding, they would kind of swap back and forth. And then sometimes they would kind of interact with each other. And she said, I mean, it was in part because they had so many people
Right.
try out that they got to cast more people kind of thing. But it was also, like, I thought, an interesting play. It's also fun because what's neat about one act plays, it doesn't take that long. It's like, 10, 15-minute play. And with YouTube, like, it's really interesting to watch. I mean, it's kind of like when you see a movie and then a remake of that movie. It's like you get to watch all of these different interpretations of it and how different they feel and how well it works when you have a great cast and how like lame it can be when you don't, and how much the actors and the direction can really like make a line sing or not. You know?
Stuff you would normally take for granted.
Yes.
But when you see the different versions, you're just like, oh, like all this stuff really matters.
Yeah, and it's so neat because like there'll be one version where I'm like, oh man, like that line they really killed it on this line, and then another one won't be as good as the other version.
Falls flat.
So then what you do is you ding, 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 and cut together all the right versions of all the right lines, so
That's
you get
right.
just the right
That's
play.
right.
Perfect.
And there have been like I did find like a couple of short film like student film interpretations, but there was one that like a good version that was made that I think got into cons or something like that, and where the director actually got permission from David Ives.
Oh wow!
And it was like the only time he gave permission because I guess he was not really into or was mistrustful of film adaptations. And I don't know, from the trailer looks pretty good. The cast is good at least. They unfortunately, like a lot of short films, it's not anywhere I could find, which is too bad because I would hope whoever just puts it out there, because why not?
Yep. And that short film, Sliding Doors.
Ding. Groundhog Day. Ding.
Mm-hmm.
What's the one with what's the one where they put the letter in the mailbox and it's a different time zone? I think it's
Hot Tub Time Machine. Ding. No.
I think it's
a lake, something lake.
yeah, Lake House.
Lake Shore
Sandra,
Drive.
it's Sandra Bullock, and
Is it just called Lake House, or is
Isn't
it
that
like
a
something
time
lake?
travel thing?
yeah, I think it's Keanu Reeves and Sandra.
Oh, and there's
Bullock.
the one.
Strange Days.
And what's the one where the dad talks to the son via
Oh,
the
yeah.
radio?
Yeah,
But
Radio
they made
Flyer?
a whole show out of that, I think, too.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
And then
unfortunate.
was it today's or is it tomorrow? Today's special? No. What's the one where he'll get the newspaper every morning?
Yeah,
That tells him like what's gonna happen. So
I
it's
never
like,
saw that, but Elise brought that up recently. Yeah, it's the guy who was the coach from Friday Night Lights, right?
Yeah,
Was the
yeah.
actor in it? Yeah, but this isn't necessarily
No,
time
this is-
travel. Yeah,
So, I mean, it's a little cynical too, because it's sort of like the only way that these two people can be happy with each other is if they are the same person.
Yes.
Like
no, I don't think it's going there. I think it's more like this is what This is kind of like how many different people there are that are incompatible compared to the few that are.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying is when it gets to compatibility, the standard is you like the same thing I like. Awesome. Then we
Well, that's
like
how every
are the
relationship
same,
kind of
then we're the
starts,
same
hopefully.
person.
Yeah. I think part of it too is I think it's also making fun of maybe the characters aren't like ideals. They're just like they're a certain type of person.
Right.
And so he's kind of like making fun of, I would say, like your, middle class liberal,
Right.
like kind of average
East Coast.
college educated,
Right.
blah blah blah. So And I think in part that's what he is. That's what he knows. I think David Ives,
Yeah.
who also has very impressive eyebrows, by the way.
Ah,
Yeah, they're up there.
David Eyes.
Ives brows.
Yeah, he's a very thin face and big dark eyebrows. So check him
Like
out.
Peter
you're into
Gallagher
eyebrows.
style.
Peter Gallagher.
While you slept, while you were sleeping, Peter Gallagher.
I think more maybe more bushy.
It's okay.
I could show you a picture.
So I guess the other interpretation too is that like you don't know when they're saying this thing to like because sometimes it's like, oh, they're saying this thing that is true, and then they're flipping it and just like not saying, like they're lying to just come across right. So it's
Right.
like, what's the right lie
Yeah,
to
but
get you across the finish
I
line?
kind of feel like those were eventually, like anytime that happens, it was overrun. It was overwritten by
Yeah,
the next one that was more authentic.
yeah. You kind of don't know whether. Also, you don't know whether he's lying or if he's a different person. Is the other
right.
way you can look at it? Because there are times where it dings and then like they go a totally different direction. That wouldn't it's not even the same character.
Yeah,
or the
where'd you
same
go to school?
circumstance.
I didn't go to school. Where'd you go to school? Harvard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there were some references that I don't know if they're outdated or if I just don't know. Like I think the first time he says Oral Roberts University or something.
Oral Roberts.
Oral Roberts. What is
It's
that?
like
It's a religious
it's
school.
a religious school. I think it's in like Oklahoma or something.
So the implication is that he's
it's
religious.
it's like a televangelical school or whatever. Like it's
Gotcha. Because
yeah.
she takes a pass on that. Yeah, and then the other reference that I thought was like a little awkward is like that
VHS.
she says he's there is that. He says that she just came back from Pakistan and that's a big turnoff to him, and I'm like, that's weird. Pakistan, like what?
Pakistan.
Yeah, I don't know what like
Why would that be the
It's a very-
deal breaker?
Well, no, based on how she pronounced it, it's a very boring town in Canada. It's sort of like saying Delaware.
You're thinking of Saskatchewan,
Yeah.
and shame on you. That's a oasis in the snow.
There's also a lot of modern modern things that kind of put the whole play in a new light, like such as speed dating became a craze
Yeah, yeah.
in the late 90s, early 2000s. And it's like it's kind of like it feels like speed dating in a way, but just with the same people over and over again. And then also, the whole like now it's the whole app dating, swipey stuff where you're sort of not even getting this far. It's just what I mean. It's like
Right.
been reduced to even less to where now the joke is just like there's no joke. It's just swipe left, swipe right. But I guess in a way it was kind of like she was making like the characters are making those kind of snap judgments about each other when the bell dings.
Right.
It's like, oh, I'm swiping left on this person because they don't like Woody Allen movies.
Yeah, but I don't think that this play is saying that like these people would discount anyone in their lives that think that. I think that this is more like after a little while you see that it's obvious that they're trying to have a meet cute, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So therefore I feel like it's not like just these people making these judgment calls like I don't want to be around this person because she said Pakistan. It's more like, oh, I don't want to get in a relationship with this person. So
Yeah,
I feel like I think you're allowed to be choosy at that stage of a relationship.
Right, which is not like to even consider it.
Yeah, exactly.
It also is like it really is a deconstruction of the meet cute thing.
Yeah.
And it really is like kind of a formal exercise. It's less about the characters necessarily because
Right.
it's more about jokes, and I mean also like the like really sometimes really
Juxtapositions of
yeah, and the really
lines.
fast pace, like I mean it almost like at times it makes you think of like the like the jump cuts in Family Guy or something, where there are some like really quick things in there that are just for laughs.
And then, I mean, if they added a half hour and one of them was a hologram, it would be a Black Mirror episode.
Totally. Oh man. And check our last episode for discussion on that. Dating in the
If you'd like to
future.
learn more about Black Mirror, the format is really funny. I feel like it was weird. I only watched 2 performances, but it was weird that the actors sped up delivering these lines, which I thought that it's probably unavoidable as an actor to fight that cadence. But I feel like that I don't know. I think if you were to break it down and make a real conversation out of it, it wouldn't have escalated in speed like that.
Right.
And that's probably just, like I said, a natural occurrence where you can't fight the rhythm.
I wonder too if they do it intentionally because because there is so much repetition as well. Like,
Yeah.
and I like too sometimes where it's like it'll jump ahead like it kind of moves on from one thing and jumps
Yeah.
to the next, or shortcuts. Like they'll repeat the same beginning twice, and then on the third, they'll have jumped halfway to the next like half of the idea, and it's clever ways to keep you moving. And also, like I did find like watching it several times. In the beginning, it's always like a little slow and awkward, and I think the actors aren't quite in the groove, but also it's more awkward.
Well, no,
When
I
the
think that's supposed
conversation
to
isn't
be,
hitting
when-
off.
if you're just starting to talk to a stranger at a cafe on
Yeah.
the street, it's gonna be, unless there's some element there to break the ice, it's gonna be awkward. That's the point.
Yeah. It always takes like but it's like that for the audience too, where
Yeah.
you're not really sold on the whole
Yeah.
thing yet, and then after a little bit, in like 5 minutes in, you're like, oh, no, maybe 3 minutes in, you're like, yes,
This
Yeah.
would be a good improv
Like
exercise.
yeah, it would, be, and probably you would end up with something really
similar.
funny stuff.
Yeah, because I feel like the structure, the real beauty of this play is the structure. The fact that she mentions it, the Woody Allen films doesn't matter as
Yeah.
far as much as it is the structure of it. Therefore, I think that this play could really easily be updated by literally improving lines.
Yeah, or just substituting one
Right,
reference for
yeah.
another, and and that's what I think. And the
Well,
short,
isn't there? What's that game? There's like a game where you
Scrabble.
No, I mean more an
Taboo.
improv game where you have like two people and you have a row of people behind. Like it's this thing that you see when you go to like a friend's UCB show or whatever. Like they'll have two characters in front and everyone else lined up along the back. And like a person will say a line, someone else will say a line. They might like get to a punchline, and then or like a lull, and then
Well, improv is not about punchlines.
No, it is though. And then they swap out one of the people, and then that person picks up
Picks
with
it
like
up from there.
with a twist, and then the conversation goes somewhere else, and then another person swaps in one of the two people.
yeah, it's
It's
kind
like
of
you're like I don't know the name of the game, but like you're tagging out.
yeah, and it's
a
kind of like
person.
I think it seems like people waiting the wins, and as soon as they have an idea and the
Yeah.
scene is flagging, they just like they tag in and
And
take
take
over.
it
Yeah.
to the next point.
Yeah, it does have that kind of vibe as well.
That would be kind of funny. A take on this is like, ding, you get tagged out. Sorry, you had your chance, you're out, and it's another person. That would be a way to get a really big cast.
And
out
you'd
of it.
pay a lot more actors. I mean,
Mhm.
Well, I mean, the reason why I'm sure this was the most acted play other than Shakespeare for those years is it's just like it's a perfect exercise for actors.
Mhm.
Like, hey, you want to do this sketch for the like talent show? It's the perfect time length. It's requires very little in the way of staging,
Mhm.
and it's just basically acting chops.
Right.
yeah, and,
Or the lack of them.
yeah, and even if things are very good, there's always a few lines that are going to play, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the other interesting thing about it, the bell, it introduces something like essentially like film editing to,
Yeah,
to theater, which
Right.
it's like I never. I'm sure that maybe it's been done before, but it was the first time I'd ever seen something like that, where it's essentially it's like cut next line,
Mhm.
and I think in a way that it's a little less as a film adaptation. It's a little less interesting because editing is more
'Cause
conventional,
you're already used to it.
right? And those
yeah.
kind of jump cut things you've seen before.
And,
whereas
I've
in
seen
theater-
plays where they'll turn the lights off and then turn it back on,
Mhm.
and the characters are in a freeze frame, and then they'll turn the lights off again, and then the characters are, when they come back on, they're in a new pose, and the scene starts again, and it's like, so they use that to like
Yeah.
cut time or create a vignette or just like play with motion in space. But again, it's usually more visual. I'm sure there are sound editing.
I really like it in plays when they create some device like that to break the fourth wall or introduce narration in a way that doesn't take you out of the scene or literally takes you out of the scene, but in a clever way. Therefore, for the last decade or so, I've pretty much sworn off theater just because, I don't know, I'd been burnt too many times going to see plays. Just like last year, I started seeing a couple, and that's just the key. You got to go see fun little plays where they're taking chances and experimenting, because all the other stuff I feel like is just like paying for a gimmick of one sort or another. This one in particular, I think is called "Don't You Fucking Say a Word" is the name of it, and it was all about a tennis match.
Uh-huh.
And so like these people would throw up, like freeze in a frame where they're about to serve this tennis ball, and the other guy would break out and say like, and he would almost give a play-by-play, but from his point of view, where he's like, and this is where this guy started talking about this and talking about that, rubbing it in my face, and it was like a really good escalation. It's that kind of innovation that I find interesting in theater.
Yeah.
Because honestly, stage acting, it doesn't do it for me anymore. And I used to act. I mean, in high school and college, that was one of my favorite things. It's just, to me, there's just an ingrained hokiness in stage acting because of the volume you have to project, because
Right.
of everything has to be so big and performed so large for the people in every seat to see, that to me, it's just not the right medium for certain things. That's why I like when people are like, "This is the medium. How do I maximize it?" And that's the types of plays that I've been seeing lately that are just great.
That's cool.
Yeah, fun indie ones that are playing with time. They're playing with the passage of time. They're playing with inner monologues and things like this.
So fringe festivals.
Yeah, well, really, independent. Yeah.
Off
Yeah.
Broadway. Had you guys ever seen this play?
I don't think I had. Like, I know I've gone to a bunch of like high school, like those states, or if you ever done like any of like regional stuff where you basically have 45 minutes as a school, like as a class, to like set up, do the play and break down, and you're judged within that time frame. Or
So it's a competition.
yeah, those competitions, and
We won the stage
and I'm sure like people
we're going to state.
like one or two of the ones we had been to had that going on, but I don't. I mean, you only catch like 3 or 4 of a dozen plays, just because you're doing setup, you're hanging out with your crew,
You're going over lines.
yeah,
Checking your
doing
cue sheet.
lines.
Doing lines. You're silk screening your hoodie with the name of the production.
That's right.
All these things are important with
Mhm.
it to a play. No, I had never seen it, and I was gonna ask you where you had first seen it or discovered it.
Well, I mean, I've never seen it live. So I've only seen
I guess you didn't see any plays between the years of what was it, 92 and 95 or whatever you
Nope.
said.
No, that's probably true. And I don't go to the theater much, anyways. Although I've seen like probably just as many plays that have really bowled me over as plays that I was kind of about. But I don't know. It's one of those things I just don't think of it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of like when somebody's
it's-
like, "Hey, let's go to this thing," I'm like, "Okay," but
It's not like you're like, hey, this weekend let's go see some theater.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So I'd never seen it. So I've only seen recorded versions of it. I enjoyed them
but you don't remember how you discovered it?
by Googling for this show.
Oh, that's right. You said that.
So it was new to me, and now it's new to you.
Have you seen any of his other plays or read any?
I saw a couple of the other short forms from All
From
in the
that
Timing.
play, yeah.
There's one that's that's sort of a play on that idea of like 100 like monkeys typing at random for long enough will end up writing Macbeth or something.
Yeah.
So he literally has people acting like monkeys and trying to and being like confused about what they're doing, and I don't know. So it's just a
So it's the
takeoff
beginning
of
of
that.
2001.
Right. And then there's another one where it's all about I'm forgetting the name, not Chekhov, or some famous
Scotty?
some famous writer, like
Spock.
I guess like he had just read this anecdote that he
Dr.
had
Spock.
he died from an axe through his head, but he didn't die right away. It took him like
Oh,
36
Sulu.
hours. No, it wasn't a Star Trek character. It was so anyway, it was about a real person who died from having an axe in his head, and so then he was like, but he didn't die for like 36 hours, and so he was like, well, what is that like? And so it was him exploring this person, living his last hours with an axe in his head. That's the other one-act play from this exact play.
Is that
So they're pretty silly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the axe man.
It's called Where Do I Put My Hat?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
The man who mistook his head for a stump.
Wow, and you thought we weren't going to get those Oliver Sacks jokes
That's
in
right.
there.
Let me
That's for you,
Let me sax you a
listeners.
question.
Man, oh man.
I've got a splitting headache.
The Death of Trotsky. It's Trotsky.
Oh, wow.
I was on the short film one. I actually like the play version a little more than the short film one. I think, I don't know, like getting close up on people's faces, and when they got like interpretive with the like her
Camera staging.
thing and like getting her makeup all messed up and all that. I mean, it's just a trailer, but I was kind of like, I don't know. I found that like when you're doing film acting, you almost have to be a little more subtle sometimes. Is a little over the top for me.
Well, and that's the one part of the play that is very over the top, maybe too much. Yeah, I didn't like that part either, but I liked the cast and stuff. But
Both of them. The whole cast.
But the other
The
interesting
guy and the girl.
That's right. All two of them.
Has anyone done it as a one-person play?
Oh.
It's Smeagol. It's Smeagol.
Yeah, it's called Jerry's Game.
Yeah.
This is kind of what I mean. I guess I'll mention it here, even though it could be new to me. So, as you guys know, I a few times a year see the opera because I get free tickets.
Because they know
fancy
you're an
pants over
aficionado,
here, yeah.
and they give
Yes.
true
Mhm.
appreciators
Yeah.
get
They're like-
free
That
tickets.
is
They're
that.
like, this guy has a podcast.
But
Give him
anyways,
free tickets to the opera. Maybe
so-
he'll talk about us on his awesome
but I
podcast.
recently saw instead of going to the opera, I saw a live broadcast of the opera at a movie theater.
They
Was it
they
the-
advertise those a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was
And-
it the one with the he's like a little guy, and he's got the horned hat,
hmm
and there's like
He's got a magic spear and a magic
yeah,
helmet.
and there's a rabbit that like dresses like a woman, and rides a bull with tiny little legs.
No, it's
No.
a horse. It's a fat horse
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that one. It was a live broadcast.
You sure? Was it a live broadcast of What's Opera
of
Dog?
Kill the
No,
Wabbit.
it was not. What's Opera Dog?
My spear and magic helmet.
No, because that would have probably been better.
Ew, the rabbit.
No, just kidding. No, it was La Boheme, which Rent
La
is based on.
Boheme.
And it was actually, so I had seen it as an opera at the opera. I think this was a better rendition. I think just they had a good cast. And I think I like the movie version of the opera better than the real thing.
Wow.
Why so?
Being at the Met Opera House is really cool,
An
But-
experience.
but I found it more entertaining as filmed because you would have close-ups and cuts. And the way it's filmed and edited live is really well done, like incredible. Like they just cut it. It must be well rehearsed. They cut it just the right moment so you catch all the right details. But you actually got to see and appreciate the acting, which was really good. Which is impressive considering they're also singing.
Difficult singing.
Yeah.
things, yeah.
Do you bring opera glasses to the opera?
We have sometimes brought opera glasses to the
Because
opera.
wouldn't that give you that experience if you
It's
know
like,
how to
close
use
up.
them? Yeah.
Right. Kind of,
Like,
but
"Ooh,
well, maybe part of it is
Hello
maybe
there.
part of it is maybe that our opera glasses aren't
Observe
powerful
the
enough.
genuflections of his codpiece.
No, see, well, because Jules goes to the opera, he hires a lowly hobo to
Yeah.
hold them up at certain
Yeah.
points, and he kicks them twice to say, "Bring up the glasses."
That's right. Next year I'm gonna
Glass
buy
me,
I'm
boy.
gonna buy an extra seat so I can place a telescope.
Yeah.
Faster, hobo!
I'm missing the good part.
You almost made me crane my neck.
Stop stepping on my furs. And wake me up if I fall asleep during a good part.
Sir, I'm not a hobo. I went to community college.
Another plus is you can eat popcorn.
Oh yeah, in the movie theater, not at the opera house.
no.
But you can drink wine at the opera house, just in between.
But it's hobo wine.
and also maybe just
Toilet wine.
It's made
maybe
out of
just-
licorice,
maybe also just
old
the fact
pears,
maybe
and
also
mouthwash.
just the fact that I think things are changing. You're not just looking at the same tableau for a really long time, and just the editing makes it feel like there's maybe more
Right.
going on.
Plus,
I
the
don't know.
songs are there's more hooks in the songs.
This is a little-
525,600 minutes.
this is a little bit of a tangent, but sticking with sticking with the opera theme, one of the things that has kind of soured me to theater often is just the lack of creativity in set design and stuff.
Mm-mm.
And buddy, all that's in opera.
Oh yeah.
Anything
Yes.
that I miss from theater stuff is all there in opera, and it's so
Yeah.
beautiful, so clever, like so much smart design goes into it.
Lavish. Well, and two, I think because they do the same operas over and
They
over
have
and
so
over
much in
again,
storage.
they're like every few years they reinterpret it in some
Yeah.
crazy way. Like they're doing
This time the dragon's a choo-choo train,
right. Like I saw
which really happened.
an opera that was like they'll put them in different time eras. So this one was
I
done
don't
at
like any of that.
like a 20s casino,
Or
like,
like
And
the,
they're
the
doing
rats
one-
under the tree.
they
are
have an
like
upcoming one
Nazis.
that's at Coney Island, and
Yeah,
they've got
it's
real
great.
Coney Island
Yeah, yeah.
performers.
And
It's the Barber of Seville, except it takes place in a barber shop on Flatbush.
But the other really cool thing about seeing it at the movie theater is you get during the intermissions you see behind the scenes stuff, and so you get to watch
that's
them
kind of cool.
change over the sets which is crazy. And so that, they're these giant, like, multi-ton sets. And the way they changed them up is the whole stage is on rails. And they just, like, slide one out and slide one in. And then they hoist stuff up and down. It's crazy. And, like, each set weighs, like, multiple tons. And in one of the acts...
guy,
because people are all on them, like, climbing them and
Yeah.
stuff.
And
They have
there's
to
like
be
just
heavy.
guys, like 6 guys on a rope with another guy
Yeah.
whipping them just to
Exactly.
like move the set.
No, it's
This
all,
is
it's all,
opera.
No, it's all motorized. But the other cool thing is so they went from an act where it was just like a scene with 3 characters in an apartment, and then the next scene is like this lavish market scene with like hundreds of extras, and they literally bring in the whole set with the extras already there on it. Like,
That's
so
cool.
it's like this giant like boat
And they're like
moving into
nailed
the
to
scene. It's
it
crazy.
so they don't fall off.
No, it just moves really slowly.
No, they're like G.I. Joes in that they have holes in their feet. They're stuck to the pegs.
That's like an operation you have to go through. When did you get
Hey,
your
listen.
opera degree?
That's why it's opera, because you got to have your operation.
Yeah. Well, that's where the word operation comes from.
That's also how you discover your voice.
Yes.
Your cast.
You're an extra.
You'll have a non-speaking role.
You will pull the scenery.
But you would recommend seeing it in a theater, in opera.
I mean, it's way cheaper, and I actually enjoyed it. So if you're curious, you could try that first. It's one of those like Fathom event.
Yeah, that's what I
things.
was trying to think
Yeah.
of. Fathom, yeah.
I think they also tend to get it's a draw for the Met to get really good talent because it's cool knowing that you're not just playing for the audience in front of you, but like
The plebes.
hundreds of thousands.
You're out
of
there
plebes.
playing for the
Yes.
plebes as well, the people out there who can't
Exactly.
afford to be with the patricians in the audience.
But I have to say, the first time you go, it's really like the place, the Met Opera House itself is just grand, and it's an awesome experience to be there. And if you go to the matinees, you don't really have to dress up too much. It's like if you go to the evening shows, that's when you want to,
Just don't
put
wear
on a
clothes
suit.
that goes.
or be very, very.
I was
still.
sitting next to. We went to see something. It might have even been La Boheme, actually. The dude next to us had a raincoat thing that was just like.
And he takes it off and he's got his Adidas tracksuit on. It's like,
That's what it was. I mean, it was
and
like
with corduroy pants.
then he takes that off and he's wearing a garbage bag and aluminum foil.
he takes a piece of the aluminum foil and he starts chewing it right by me.
And he's just like, ow, ow, ow.
And I'm like, I'm trying to read the subtitles here, bub. Which is another cool thing about the opera is
Yes.
the seat in front of you has literal subtitles on an LED screen.
Yeah, so it helps you know what's going on. Although most of them you can just like read it once every 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then you're like, oh, yep, still saying the
They're
same
still
thing.
saying I love you.
Uh,
Oh no, I think I saw the magic flute. That's the one I saw.
oh, that's one of the most fun ones, I think.
Yeah.
One,
And, and their presentation of that was supposed to be really good too.
yeah, I think that was designed by at least the version I thought was it Julie Taymor? The
Would make sense.
Yeah, she did all the designs and it was really groovy.
I think I also saw. Oh, I definitely saw the Damon Albarn version of the Monkey from the West, the Monkey King story,
Oh yeah.
Journey into the West.
Oh,
It was pretty
Oh.
cool.
that is neat.
Cool.
Cool.
So where can people see Sure Thing?
Sure thing. Bing. If you just look it up on YouTube, you'll find lots of different versions. I mean, that's where I found some of them. A lot of them are terrible, but there's a few gems on there, and we'll link to a couple of them.
And if you're a high school kid out there and struggling in theater, just trying to find that awesome little nugget of a play to perform to get you into college, look into this. It's perfect. It's tailor made for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd love to see some gender swapping kind of fun interpretations of this too. Might be neat.
I did see like some where it's like 2 dudes or 2 ladies
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. All right.
Yeah.
But
All
good
right.
pick, Jules. I really this was a surprise to me because it was like a play, eyes rolling.
And
you're
then,
like, oh.
short 1-act play starring 2 people and a table.
the table was real good.
But we do need to mention though, this did come out before Groundhog Day.
Yes.
So it's not ripping off Groundhog Day, and there's definitely a sequence in Groundhog Day that feels this way when
Yeah.
he's trying to win over Andy McDowell, and who wouldn't? Am I right, people?
Yeah.
And so it's this same thing where it's just like, say something, nope, missed it. Next time, shows that same scene where he's like, oh, dry vermouth with a twist of lime, that's my drink. I always toast to world peace. You do? Me too. This precedes it.
Yep.
Which was a neat little surprise.
Yeah, they totally ripped this off, man.
The thing is, based on another, like there's a date. So he's living in like a 30-year reset loop. So he saw Groundhog
Yeah.
Day and he
Went back,
reset and then he wrote this play.
It only has to be like, for that math to work, it only needs to be like a 5-year loop.
And each time he repeats, his eyebrows get bigger.
Yeah. If he cuts them like Samson, that's it.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Jules, good pick.
Sure
Do
thing.
you like Entenmann's crumb cake?
Last night, I went out at 2 in the morning just to get one. Did you have an Etch-a-Sketch as a child?
Yes! And do you like Brussels sprouts?
No. I think they are disgusting.
They are disgusting.
Do you still believe in marriage in spite of current sentiments against it?
Yes,
And children?
3 of them.
2 girls and a boy.
Harvard, Vassar, and Brown.
Do you love me?
Yes.
To such a question, there are many possible answers, such as hard work.
Feel I'm alone in this whole of existence. I know it takes time, but I'm losing my persistence. The distance is too far to fetch, so I sketch on pages and hope that some.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening to another episode of the New to You Show. I was one of your hosts, John Holt. You can find me on Twitter at LordJoho and on Instagram at board_ghost. You can find my RPG storytelling podcast at boardghost.com, and you can find my book club podcast at woundandstab.com. Keith, where can people find you?
People can find me on earthlingkeith.com to see some outdated websites of work that I did 2 years ago, but it's out there. So how about you, Jules?
You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at BeautifulJules. And I'm sure if you look around, you can find an outdated portfolio as well. But mine goes back a little further to 2009.
Oh yeah.
I think mine's like 2012 or 2013.
You're going for the 10-year anniversary.
Yeah.
Wait for it, baby. What is that? What is that anniversary?
Paper?
No.
Tin?
No.
Copper?
Bronze. It's like a bronze
That's
anniversary
bronze
or
anni-
something.
Coal. Before we get into the wrap up and what's next week, Keith, what's new to you this week?
Oh, what was new to me? So had a cool night planned to go see the Black Panther, and it turns out that was sold out all over the place. So I didn't see the Black Panther.
So you
I
just
went to
watched
see-
Homecoming again.
I went
the
to see-
best Marvel movie.
I went to go see Game Night, starring Jason Bateman, which honestly could have been a sure thing pick, in my opinion. The dude is like batting practically 1,000. I can't even think of many bad things he's ever been in. But this movie's way better than it should be. I was not expecting it to be. I mean, I expected it to be like, yeah, it's gonna be funny. It's just gonna be a bunch of gags, but it ended up being a lot more fun than I thought.
That's
And,
cool.
What's the premise of it? Is it like a couple's night kind of?
I can't really give the premise away without spoilers necessarily, but it's
What's the setup?
So here we go. So this husband and wife are super competitive, and that's how they have met and loved one another. And they can't for some reason conceive a baby, and they think that it's because of like Jason Bateman's character gets stressed out about his brother who overperforms compared to him. Like he's always comparing himself, so they think that stress level is affecting it. And this just so happens to coincide with a game night at his brother's house, and his brother's always trying to outdo everybody. His plan for game night is like way over the top, and it goes from there.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they show what the plan is in the trailer.
They say some stuff, but trust me, it goes to like there's twists within twists.
Well,
It's
yeah, of
really
course,
great.
of course.
Yeah, and some clever stuff. I mean, it's still just a dumb comedy, but
Yeah.
but super well acted, super well. Like everybody on it is really funny. What a cast!
All right.
Yeah, and it's got the guy from Friday Night Lights.
And it's in theaters right now?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, but see Black Panther first, maybe, I guess. I didn't see it, so I can't tell you for sure, but apparently everybody else
I
The,
haven't
only,
seen it
the only
either yet.
movie you need to see is Homecoming, a Spider-Man movie. Homecoming, a Spider-Man movie.
Mm-hmm.
Or see the original play it's based on.
Yeah, it's a
Love
one act.
Bohem.
Yep. I thought it was Der Fledermaus.
That's
Fledermaus.
what Batman's based on.
Oh.
The Spider-Moon. The Spider-Mensch. I don't know what spider is in German. I don't think they have spiders in Germany.
They don't. Anyway, game night.
Good. It's a good one.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So next week, I'll go next week. So my pick is the pilot episode of The Deuce, a David Simon show that's on HBO. So we'll just kind of chat about David Simon and his career a little bit, probably a little more. He's my sure thing. So we'll get into that next week. Gang, it may not be new, but maybe it
it's
was new to you.
Explosion sound.
This pitiful life is all about the music. 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 This pitiful life is all about the music.
Be with him together forever, without the limitation of time ever again. So the second coming of the Lord is not dead.